Hello, nerdologists. Today we're going to be talking about relationships between fictional characters. If you haven't seen Michelle's video, you should go watch that first, but I'm going to be talking about sort of the similarities between the relationships in Doctor Who and in Twilight. And first off, I would just like to start by kind of defending Twilight. Like, I love to hate on Twilight just because it's so easy to do, but I was also like a huge Twilight fan at the beginning because, well, it's not like the best story out there. It's still a very engaging story. Like, it's interesting. You want to keep reading it, and I love stories, and all my friends were reading it, and it's awesome to be like involved in a thing that all of your other friends are doing. And so I agree with Michelle that it's not a bad story, but it could be better. And Michelle, you pointed out, but I just like to reiterate that Twilight kind of focuses solely on the relationships going on, whereas Doctor Who, it's sort of like a background story that connects all of the episodes, but there are like more important things going on in the episodes. And yes, the relationships in Doctor Who and in Twilight are kind of like crazy and cheesy, and obviously they could never happen in real life, but I think that's why we read stories and why we watch TV shows. I know I especially love fantasy and sci-fi stories just because like you are able to experience these things that never could happen in real life. I also think their relationships are different because in Twilight, Bella went with Edward, which is kind of like the person she was supposed to end up with, I guess, even though I have been Team Jacob since the beginning because like Bella's not supposed to end up with Jacob. Like, they're best friends, and like maybe in a different world they could have gotten together, but you know in the context of the story that Bella's gonna end up with Edward. And so having Renesmee was kind of a nice way to be like, Jacob, you're a really nice person, so you get a girl too. And I think that's kind of problematic that, oh, he's a nice guy, like he deserves a girl, so therefore he will get one in the context of this story. And I think it's different from Doctor Who because in Doctor Who, like, yes, Amy's kind of choosing between the Doctor and Rory, but Rory would be more the Jacob character, not in terms of who ends up with whom, but just in terms of he's not as exciting, I guess, as the Doctor. And you definitely see that tension played out in Doctor Who in that, like, you expect Amy to be with the Doctor because, like, there has been sexual tension between the Doctor and his companions before. And honestly, I was getting really tired of that storyline, and so I'm glad they were able to, like, keep romance in Doctor Who, but also make it different. I think Doctor Who is also different in that the Doctor doesn't really want to be with Amy. He wants to be friends with Amy, but he's also a huge Amy-Rory shipper, and every time something goes wrong in their relationship, he's, like, constantly there, like, trying to patch it up, and it's just absolutely adorable. Also, another difference is that the Doctor is not in love with an infant. I know a lot of people had a problem with that in Twilight, even though Jacob isn't, like, in love with an infant, like he's going to be in love with her. Oh, it's confusing. But yeah, the Doctor only knows River when she is older, so therefore it's less creepy. Also, in Doctor Who, I feel like the relationships are a lot more equal than they are in the Twilight series, because in Twilight, Bella's constantly complaining about how she's needing like these supernatural beings to protect her, and she's at their mercy, and she's like, they're both forcing her to choose between the two of them, where you don't really see that as much in Doctor Who. It's more Amy who's putting herself in that position of choosing between the two of them. And also, Amy can definitely hold her own in the Doctor Who series. She isn't afraid to talk to the Doctor and stand up for what she thinks is right. Additionally, River Song is a really badass character, and I love her because, like, at the beginning of their relationship, she knows more about the Doctor than the Doctor knows about her. And I know it, like, changes later on because early in her life, the Doctor knew more about her. And I find that really interesting. So, because at the beginning of what we see of their relationship, she definitely has all the power, and she's like, oh, spoilers, and I think that's awesome. And she's definitely able to take care of herself. I mean, occasionally she calls on the doctor to break her out of jail. I think with a lot of stories, you can look at them and find similarities with other stories, but then once you start looking at the details, you begin to notice all the little differences, because a lot of our stories are very similar to other stories. We have lots of cliched storylines and characters and stuff like that. But honestly, that doesn't stop me from reading and watching these stories, because stories are awesome and I just want to read stories all day long, because all of the characters and the drama and crazy plot lines. And so, like, I don't mind that occasionally you re-see like the same thing, because each author, and in the case of movies, actors and actresses make the story their own, and they're able to like bring in different situations, different motives and stuff like that. And so while they seem like the same story, when you dig deeper you realize that they are all different stories, and I think that's one of the awesome things about storytelling. And I think this is a good place to end the video. So, Chelsea, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on Friday.